G'day ladies and gentlemen, this is Sam Battlefield. Thank you very much for joining me on my journey through the constraints-led approach for BJJ. Did a class this morning. I honestly did not think anybody would be rocking up. People that Tuesday is fairly quiet at the best of times, and Aaron mentioned that he would be away, and then arrived on time, actually a little bit before, and then Paul rocked up and we ended up having a bit of a class there. So it was very well, it showed to me two things. One, I've been a bit lax in my preparations. So one thing that I've discovered from it that happened in the previous previous video, I mentioned that when winging it exposes enough flaws. I had a general idea, but I hadn't written anything out, and so I was particularly it's self-defense week, so I knew what I wanted to do. Just I'm not really sure where it sort of came from, but really looking at just controlling someone who's got a weapon on the arm that's got the weapon, but also trying to ensure that they can't just pass it off. So the person was trying to. The more I think about it, I really like Alex's way of doing this. So Alex told me today, when we were having a bit of a debrief, that he got something and just told the person that they had to keep it on them. So that had like a, I don't know, rubber ducky, whatever, something to simulate a weapon as such. But Alex's way of constraining it was that the person had to keep that on the person as much as possible, whereas the other person had to stop it being on them through whatever means, or through whatever means. And similar, but I like his constraint on that because what I found was obviously there's that chaos that occurs, but then when people saw that we were grabbing the arm and then sort of keeping it away from the other arm, however that might be, the attacker, who's meant to be, you're not meant to be doing self-defense against someone who is defensive, right? And I'll back up a bit. So the self-defense scenario, obviously, is always, if you can get away, you get away, right? So what the constraints were, the goal is to isolate the arm with the weapon and hold it for 3 seconds so that they can't swap over and go for it. What started to happen was, so the first couple of goes, myself and Aaron, he was coming at us, so as the knife as such came forward, again, you're going to get hit, you're going to get scraped or stabbed or whatever, but because it's coming forward, you can kind of grab it and then isolate it and whatever. Whereas Paul took like a decidedly, almost military approach, and in that he was kind of keeping me at bay, and I realised that I was going in for it, and then going, hang on a second, in a self-defense scenario, I'm not going for that thing if he's backing away. Like, if he's backing away, I'll let him back away and I'll run. So the constraint for the attacker wasn't the best from my perspective. So let me just show you what it kind of looked like in the end. So Paul had this, and he had this kind of this arm up, boom. But like, if he's not really lunging, so it sort of ended up, he was very mobile with his swapping of the hand. So like, as soon as you got it, he was into the other hand and just so yeah. Ultimately, I don't want to fight anybody with a fucking knife. But as I said, like, if someone's coming at you that slow, just run, just start running. But if if someone's coming at you, I think in the future I will use Alex's constraint, which is you have to be, so you start with it touching somewhere, and your goal is to, or maybe you start with it touching the hand or something, and your goal is to just continually touch the person. It's a difficult one. I'll be honest, I'm not too sold on self-defense week, and in the past probably year, self-defense week I have just renamed. I haven't renamed, but yeah, it's a difficult one. Like, if you can't beat one attacker, yeah. Anyway, self-defense week, not a huge fan of it, but it's part of our curriculum, and as I said, I'm reviewing that curriculum at the moment. This was the main part of the lesson. Okay, so I did have two other videos. So, is this one showing? Yeah. So this one was essentially fairly straightforward. It was a person on the bottom had to touch using the underhook. So basically, start in in a flattened out half guard, and the person on top was just trying to release that leg. The person on the bottom was trying to use the opposite hand to touch the opposite lat, and this resulted in some weird emergent behaviours that I will put down to me not thinking through the constraint as much as I should have. So if I was going to do this again, I would probably say that, I really do have to think more about why. Like the initial, I think the reason why I just did the touching of the other side of the lat, I think because I sort of had some success when we first started doing, when I first started implementing the CLA stuff. I think I'm definitely getting into that, the Dunning-Kruger effect. I'm starting to hit the I'm maybe travelling down towards the valley, but yeah, this is the result of me not being focused enough in the planning stage, that I didn't create a good enough game, essentially. And I think this second one, so the control game was not too bad. We started with this. Essentially the goal was the person had their back, and their goal was to try and choke them. Again, I could have had a much better constraint there. I could have said something along the lines of try and get one arm across the face, or something along those lines. I'm very, very disappointed with my performance the last couple of days. I think there's an element of kind of resting on my laurels, but I really need to pick it back up. Fortunately, I know that we're going to start getting people back through the door again, which is they're starting to get into the cooler months, and a lot of people will actually be in for these things, which is kind of counterintuitive, but what happens is the change from hot to cold, we see a drop-off. Anyway, this is a business thing, don't worry about it. So yeah, I think for all of it, I need better language and more specific constraints, which are more specific goals for the games, because it was very loose and sort of just get out of the hooks and that sort of thing. I should have been a lot more targeted and direct. I think I don't know what's happened to me. Maybe it's just a bit of laziness. I did have a big weekend, which may have factored in. Anyway, so there was with this particular game as well. This was the first game that we played. With this game, I would say one of the reasons why the constraint and I didn't give some really specific language is when Paul got on the back, he just tried to control. There was no win. There was no defined win for him. It was just hold on for dear life because these guys are escaping, which is it's an understandable thing. But I was hoping that the affordances that were given were just explore some sort of attack, like whatever it might be, to the neck, and just try and get an arm under. But I didn't say any of that, so he just saw it as I can win, but I need to stop them from winning, which is that's a me problem. That's a me not planning, but it's also me not seeing what was going on in class. So I'm going to have to be really critical of myself for this lesson. Anyway, I did have I actually had no. I didn't think anyone was going to rock up, so I was actually not really in the mindset. One thing that did come up though was the in free rolling at the end was Paul gets into a position and just holds on for dear life, and so we had quite a big discussion about him potentially like just testing new things, like just testing more mobility and less worried about holding on for dear life, especially, and this was something I really liked, when you are destabilized. So if you're unstable, then your pressure is fairly useless, right? Because they're destabilizing you, so you don't have a single point of pressure. So at that point, you need to decide to exit and find either another point of pressure or mobility in order to, basically fuck that person up. Anyway, this is Sam Battlefields. This has been a bit of an eye-opener for me. I'm not sure. Here's something I noticed, and I noticed that I was in flow. But I wasn't in like a heightened, excited state of flow. So there wasn't like, it was more going through the motions than I'm picking up something new here. So that's a really good point. I could definitely pick Yes. Anyway, sorry. Sam Battlefields here. Thank you very much for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.